I am so thrilled to have Dave Jackson on our show on Spark Media Conversations because I call you Nugget Dave. And he didn't know that that was his nickname. He came up to me at this conference and he said, why are you called? Because you have the ability to drop nuggets into people's hearts about how to podcast well. And not only are you a great podcaster, you're in the Podcasting Hall of Fame. And so we're so excited to have Nugget Dave, a.k.a. Dave Jackson.
Well, thank you.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
So, I mean, you are the man, the myth, the legend.
The man, the myth, the legend.
Like, how long have you been podcasting?
Since 2005.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And I don't think people know, do you know that people don't know the podcasting were out there, that there was a podcasting world in 2005?
It wasn't even in Apple yet.
Okay.
So you had to be a really big nerd to be into podcasting. And I remember this guy came back from a conference and he said, I know what the next big thing's going to be. And I go, great, what is it? He goes, podcasting. And I Googled it and there was 1.5 pages. And I go, how do you spell that again? P-O-D. And I'm like, okay. And so I found it, and when I finally kind of pieces parted one together and I uploaded my file and I saw it come back down, I went, oh, I see what this is going to do. And so I started a podcast, and about 2 weeks later, I got a voicemail from a guy in Nuremberg, Germany. And I hit it, and he's like, hello, Dave, this is Michael Van Laar from Nuremberg, Germany. And I was like, I'm in the middle of nowhere, Ohio. And there's some guy in Germany that's listening to my show. Like, first he found it, and then he listened to it, and he liked it. And I went, oh, and I just grabbed my flag. I'm like, I hereby claim podcasting in the name of Dave. So.
Well, enlighten the people. How did you get a podcast out there? You had an RSS feed, right? But how did people listen to it in 2005?
Yeah, back then there were things. Wow, this is stuff. iPodder X was a thing.
Okay.
A lot of people, these were arcade pieces of software. So you would download it, and then you'd take your MP3 player, because this is before the iPod. So you'd plug that in. It would show up as a hard drive. And then you go to your computer, find the folder where the downloads came from, and copy and paste them into that. It was just that easy.
You were committed at that point.
Praise Jesus for podcast hosts today.
Yeah, and if you were
Praise Jesus, because that's a lot of work.
Yeah, you had this little player about the size of your thumb, and it held like 20 songs. So it was like 15, 20 podcasts. And then you'd be listening in the car, and you're like, well, that's the last one.
Yeah.
So when the iPod came along, and all you did was plug it in, it launched iTunes, it downloaded your podcast and threw them on your iPod. You're like, okay, now we're talking.
Yeah.
Thank you, Apple. Thank you, Steve Jobs.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's right.
That's so cool. It's almost like when we were in music people and we only had tapes, and then it went to CDs, and then the iPod came out.
Come on, you got to back it up. We had 8 tracks before that.
That's right.
I didn't want to go that far back, okay, because I'm in my early 40s. But Dave, anyone who's watching this right now is probably going to say, how do I start a podcast? And I want you to be able to just give us a little nugget on just a quick way they can start a podcast.
Yeah, well, first things first, you need a microphone.
Okay.
And those are less than $100. The thing you really need is the passion to serve has to be greater than your fear of looking stupid.
Ooh, that's good.
There's a nugget.
Really good, yeah.
So when you're too worried about what people are going to think about you and things like that, then you don't press record. But when you get that passion up there, and what I always say is, don't worry about the audience. Everybody's like, oh, this is going out to the world. I'm like, yeah, but nobody's found you yet.
Oh.
So I always say, talk to one person.
Yeah.
Like I don't say, hey guys, I'm so glad you're here. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I always say, hey, I'm so glad. I talk to one person. I'm so glad you're here. Today we're gonna, and I always just talk to one person. I said, so if you're really freaking out about the audience, forget about them. Think about that one person who really needs to hear what you have to say, and talk to your invisible friend across the table and go to town. So,
that's so cool.
That's amazing.
That is really great.
and then from there, you just get a media host. There's a bunch of stuff you do once to put in your information and your artwork and all that stuff, but it really starts with passion.
Yeah, absolutely. I always say it starts with a message and a target audience.
Yeah.
Because you have to know who you're talking to. You got to know who that one person is, right? So that you can deliver the thing that they need.
Yeah.
So that you can find your people.
Yeah, because you have to know your why and your who, and when you combine those, you come up with your what. Because if I don't give enough information to the who, they're going to leave. So now I got no audience. If I just talk about what I want to talk about, that's called an infomercial. So that doesn't work. So you got to have them both. And it's a lot of fun, a lot of work at times, but
It is a lot of work at times. Yeah.
So
do you suggest outsourcing?
I would say if you got the budget, you're going to pay in one of two currencies. It's either time or money, and use the one you have the most of.
Okay.
So
that's good.
If you've got the money, hire it out. If not, and there are weird people like me, like I like to edit. Yeah, I'm weird.
You need to start.
Again, I'm a nerd.
No,
but
you're
if
amazing.
you've got it, put it out there. And then the other thing is you have to leave time, because people will record a podcast. They're like, oh, I can spend, 4 hours a week making this thing. But you also have to leave time to tell people about it.
Right.
So if you just make it, now we're into the world of, what was that movie, Field of Dreams? Like, if I build it, they will come. And I'm like, slowly, sure. Eventually, you'll find it.
Yeah, right. And not in 2 months. It's going to take a little while. Because
Yeah.
consistency is key, right?
Yeah.
Consistency is key.
When you produce on a regular basis, whatever that is, I have people, like one guy emailed me, Dave, you're with me every Monday on the way to the feed store.
Oh.
So I'm part of his routine.
That's right.
And so and if you're selling your own stuff, now you're seen as reliable, and if you give them good stuff, so that consistency really does come in handy. But I also say it's consistency in schedule and in value. So anytime I hear somebody go, hey, thanks for tuning into the show, I'm not really sure what I'm going to talk about today, but it's Thursday and I promised you a show, and I'm like, and stop.
And stop.
Because that guy's going to just ramble on for 20 minutes, and at the end I'm going to go, well, that's 20 minutes I can't get back, so it's fun.
What are you most excited about this year?
That's a good question.
What do you see for podcasting in 2024?
See, well, more and more products. Every time I turn around, there's some piece of hardware, or like I just saw this thing called Resound that you upload the file.
Oh yeah.
And it highlights all the ums and your nos.
Yes.
And then you go to it and go, keep it or lose it. And so it really speeds that up, but that's specifically designed for podcasting.
Yes.
So there's more tools coming along to take some of the stress out of it.
That's so nice.
So that's one of the things that every time you turn around, there's another one.
Yeah.
Another piece of hardware. So it's getting to the point now where it's hard to kind of keep up.
Yeah.
But so just the fact that companies are now recognizing, like, oh, there's enough people doing this, that let's make this product.
Yeah.
So.
Well, great. So people can find you. School of Podcasting is your jam.
Yeah, schoolofpodcasting.com, and then because I do a bunch of stuff, if you go to powerofpodcasting.com, that's all things Dave.
All things Dave. Get some nuggets from Dave.
Get some nuggets from Dave. Yes.
Nuggetsfromdave.com. I'll be buying that.
You can have it. You can have it. Thank you so much for coming on our show. Yeah. And yes, definitely check them out, and you will get some more of those nuggets. So anyone can start a podcast.
Anyone
Can start a podcast, right?
Probably the last thing is the thing I really have to get people over is not the tech. It's not it's this.
The brains.
Up there. You are stopping yourself.
Trusting in yourself.
Because you think, well, who would listen to me? I would. There's a lot of people that you think, because all your friends know the same stuff you do, so you don't think it's that important. And it is. So there's only one way to find out. And that's to put it out there. So.
That's right.
Thank
That's awesome.
you.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
You.
Yeah.